Aikui, Malita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian. Today I will be talking about my 2023 goals. Before I get into the goals, I'd like to talk about just a general update of what's been going on. I know that I haven't been posting nearly as much. I'm pretty inconsistent with my video uploading, but lately I've been worse than usual. Part of that is because I get in a funk when it comes to November, December. I'm not sure why. I'm still figuring it out, but I've noticed that throughout my goals videos for the last couple years, this is what's been happening, is that towards November, December, I get in this funk. I don't want to really do anything, and then after Christmas and around New Year's, I end up getting really motivated to change and do different things, and it kind of falls off again by like June. So yeah, it's now I'm noticing a pattern, and I think it's just because, like, and I've mentioned this before, the holiday type spirit has I'm still trying to find it thing of, rather than having someone else create this magical moment for the holidays, I have to create it myself, which isn't nearly as fun, but I'm trying to thinking about it for next year, which there's that like motivation for the following year. I have ideas that could help it. Basically it's trying to find my own traditions and our own integrating new family into it, essentially. So there's that, but there's also a 6.4 earthquake that we had. So I know that it was mentioned in some national news, but like the way they mentioned it made it seem so small, and maybe it was. Maybe we're making, I don't know, just the way they talked about it though, was just a small blip at the end of the Today Show. But it was a 6.4 earthquake just south of where I currently live. It was like 12 miles off the coast of Fortuna, and it was a 6.4 at 2:30 in the morning. It was very jarring, because it was an earthquake, but also because we ended up having alerts on our phones. For some people it worked great, and we're finding that if you were further away from the epicenter, it worked really well. But the closer you were to the epicenter, there was a delay. So I woke up to the earthquake because I heard noises, realized that we were shaking, and then I heard my alarm go off. And I turned to my partner because this would be something that he would like be asleep through, right? But thankfully, because of the alarms, he did wake up as well, and immediately covered his neck and curled up on himself. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we do for an earthquake. All the training that we had as kids like completely left my mind, and for some reason I kept thinking stop, drop, and roll. It's like, no, that's for fire. It lasted for a minute or so. No damage to our house. We're still finding damage, actually. So there were some things in here that fell, but we're finding that some caulking around our windows have come apart. So right now, I'm filming this between Christmas and New Year's, and this earthquake happened like a week ago. We're finding, because now we have a huge storm that's coming through right now, that caulking around our windows have unsealed, essentially. So now our windows are leaking during this storm. So a bunch of different things. So yeah, it was a very scary moment. The whole county was out of power for what was probably 16 hours, if not more, for some folks. I know that folks in Fortuna and Rio Dell had gas leaks and had major damage, and not only was gas turned off because of the gas leaks, but electricity was out, and they had no water. So it was very, very jarring, and we've had like 21 aftershocks since then. So it's been a time, and this seems even more minor comparatively, but I was down to like one monitor, and I can't I am even less motivated to edit on one monitor than I am with two. So I have a second one again. Yeah, let's get into my goals for 2023. So 2023, I did rewatch my 2022 goals, and we're just gonna leave that in the past where it belongs and move on to the future of 2023. In terms of my channel content, I want to take inspiration from some of my favorite booktubers, Kayla from Booksandlala, Jan from JanAgaton, and Allison from AllisonPaiges. I just want to take inspiration and take elements from their booktube channels and kind of somehow incorporate them into my own. I want to take inspiration from like the reasons why I enjoy their videos so much. Whether it's a vlog like atmosphere of their videos of just like being comfortable in the mundanity of life and just making it cozy to not only look like to be a part of but also to watch, and just kind of, I don't know, it's a very much like relaxed looking setting in terms of reading, and I'm sure it's not the case, but they make it look easy, right? And I would like to have that of sorts. I don't want to put so much pressure on myself to read everything on my TBR, or that have stress if I don't, but to be able to just kind of go with the flow and take you along with me. And that's something that I would ultimately like to do and have been thinking that I would like to do for a while, is just take you along with me. I haven't for the longest time because I find that I don't think my life is all that interesting. But also there's that fear that my editing isn't that great. I love Allison from AllisonPaiges' editing skills, the same with Kayla from Booksandlala and Jan from JanAgaton. Like the elements and the music is really nice, and I don't think I have that, but the only way to do it is to practice. So yeah, bear with me as I try that, I guess. But also I think it'd be really nice, because I think part of this little funk that I get into November and December is because I also don't leave the house very often. I don't go outside as much. Apologize if you can hear my cat acting like she's dying. She's fine. She just likes to whine. But yeah, just ultimately like would like to take you along with me and kind of have that encourage me to do more stuff outside the house. I do just show you the great environment that is where I live. So I think that's what I would ultimately like to do in terms of my reading. I just need to remember that I'm doing a lot better with audiobooks than I am with physical books. I listen to audiobooks quicker, I finish them quicker, and physical books are just not doing it for me. And I think that's part of the reason why my TBRs aren't getting fulfilled, because I'm looking for anything that's available audibly. I do need to go through my physical TBR and get it down. I am putting myself on a book buying ban. I'm actually gonna redo my Pokemon Cards Choose My TBR in order to make a goal for myself that once I finish once I finish so many books, then I can get a new book. Mostly because, particularly after rearranging all this and slowly moving some of them into the living room where another bookshelf is, I have a lot of books, and this is getting ridiculous. And this isn't like there's 3 shelves right behind me. That's my unread shelf. The rest of them are read for the most part. Well, no, I lie. This bottom shelf right here is also unread, but I still have piles and piles of books, and this is ridiculous. So I work in a library. I should utilize that. I have access to Libby and Libro. Utilize that. I also have access to Audible. I don't support it, but I have access to my brother's Audible, so he's supporting it. I'm directly not. But to utilize those, and like I'm realizing too that particularly when I first started getting into BookTube, I was buying everything that I thought I would be interested in physically, and now that years later, I'm realizing that there's a lot of things that I'm just not interested in anymore, because either because I've lost interest altogether, or the synopsis just doesn't intrigue me anymore. So I think I want to structure that differently, so to utilize my library more, Libby, Libro, etc., to be able to manage my physical TBR. But also to remember that when creating my TBR, that to be able to lean more towards audiobooks than for my physical TBR, because I only allow myself so much time to physically read. Other things in terms of reading goals is that I would still like to do Kayla from Booksandlala's 2023 Buzzword Reading Challenge. I've been saying this every year, and every year about May or June I end up dropping off. Like, I don't know why, it just happens. But I would like to take that into consideration when choosing my TBR. Also, still want, I think I'm doing okay with this. I could be a little better at it in terms of making sure I am reading Indigenous authored books as well as nonfiction. Nonfiction I'm doing pretty good at. I think last year I said I was almost at the third, getting nonfiction as a third of my reading, and I think it is at that, if not surpassed it, which is great. I love nonfiction. I love that I love nonfiction. In terms of more reading goals, for the reading goal of Goodreads, it's still going to be at 45. I think that is a good number, and gives me leeway if there is a slump, or if I do happen to be interested in reading a tome. I would really like to read tomes. I really would, but I am intimidated by them. I think I have been able to read a couple through audio, but like physically, it's hard for me to gravitate towards them. I have that motivation right now. We'll see how well. But I know that's not going to last. So there's that. Channel goal wise, like I said, want to take elements from Kayla, Jan, and Allison, but in terms of growth or anything, I don't know if I have my expectations in the right place, because like I said, I don't take this seriously. Well, like I do. That's the wrong way to phrase it. I enjoy making booktube videos. I don't do it regularly, and I can't expect a regular growth of my channel if I don't post regularly and have consistent content. It's just not going to happen. And so to expect a steady growth in my channel when I'm not doing consistent uploads it's just unreasonable. So last year I said, oh, it'd be cool to reach 1,000 subscribers, and no, I'm just at 378. And I say just, but it's still really cool that 378 people are even interested in the content that I make, and that have stuck with me for this long, or have just found me and think of me as interesting enough to follow. So thank you very much for your support. And ultimately I would just hope and like to think that I can improve in terms of talking, because that's definitely one thing I know that not everyone enjoys watching themselves on booktube, but I particularly really don't like watching myself, and rewatching my 2022 goals was fairly cringy, and I hope that I have gotten a little more eloquent in terms of speaking. So there's that hope, and I hope to be more eloquent as time goes on and I do more, I guess. So otherwise, in general, I would like to add some life goals in here as well. I do hope to do more art. I've kind of given up on trying to get it incorporated within this channel, just because, to me, because I have an art shop with my mom, it's already kind of this like a job thing that is hard for me to motivate myself to do, because it's hard for me to get out of the what sells aspect of it as opposed to just illustrating what I think would be interesting. And there's moments where I can get into that, I can grasp that and like do something really fun, and it tends to surprise me when it does well in the shop. But then I get sucked into that thing of just like what sells. So yeah, I would like to try to get away from that what sells and just kind of just do art as I want to do art. I would also like to get more into gardening, particularly. I really do enjoy it, and particularly after taking this critical plant studies class for the fall semester, I really enjoy the thought of like growing plants and being able to save the seeds for future use. I would like to do more with plants, with seeds. Ultimately, in my own garden, my goal ultimately is to have strawberry plants, and have healthy raspberries, and eventually blueberries. I love berries and would ultimately like to do jams and jellies of some sort, as well as just like root vegetables and stuff like that. So I would just like to expand my garden a bit. I'd also like to get my finances under control. That was another reason why I decided to put myself on a book buying ban, or put a more of a challenge to, if you do these things then you can buy a book, because I didn't actually track all of my book buying this year, but what I did track is ridiculous. So that's not going to be a video because I'm not going to out myself that way. But it is something that I would like to get more under control and be able to have some stuff set aside, some like, I don't know, just be able to have a less focus on books ultimately and be able to expand other interests of mine, really. So yeah, I think that's about it in terms of life goals. I do hope, I guess traveling. I would like to travel. My partner and I are hoping to travel in February. It's not going to be far. We're basically just taking a drive up the coast, and that's the plan so far. We would eventually like to travel to a different, we're traveling to a different state currently, but we would like to eventually travel farther, and that's like the long-term goal. But the short term is like just to get out of here for a little bit, because he is definitely needing a vacation. I'm currently technically on a vacation. But I think that is my 2023 goals. Hopefully that is decent. What are some of your goals for 2023? Were you able to meet any of your goals for 2022? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you've made it this far, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, because my cat has been now quiet but has been quite the pain in this video. Let's go ahead and put a cat emoji if you've made it this far. Otherwise, I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading, or in even life, and I will see you in another video very soon. Cheers.